The UN Security Council has now approved the creation of a peacekeeping force for Mali. It means that UN troops will take control of the mission to Mali in July of this year, taking over an African-led force which is currently fighting rebels in the north. James Bayes, our diplomatic editor now at the United Nations for us. You may care to illuminate what the difference between a force that's fighting at the moment and a peacekeeping force in a couple of months will be, James, but just bring us up to date with what you've heard and who you've spoken to.
Well, it's UN Resolution 2100 that authorises this new force, as you say, from the 1st of July, over 11,000 UN peacekeepers, also 1,400 UN police. But they're not going to be the only force that's in Mali. The French are staying for now as a fighting force. A short time ago, I caught up with France's ambassador to the UN.
We really need to enter into a phase of reconciliation between the Malians, and the UN are the only ones able to be a channel between all parts of the Malian society.
You talk about reconciliation, but people on the ground say the atmosphere there, even among government officials and some of the army, is one of revenge and retribution. How worried are you about the situation?
Very worried. You are perfectly right. There is a spirit of revenge in Bamako that you can understand after what happened, but it's very clear that this spirit of revenge will lead to nowhere or to a new bout of fighting. You know, they have had problems for the last 50 years. So that's why it's important to have the UN on the ground, you know, and really with the African Union also to push for the reconciliation, to push for having a real political process.
I've read the resolution, and there's a clear timeline for when this UN force starts on the 1st of July, and it's going to be backed by your French troops in case there's any trouble. What's not clear on the timeline is how long your French troops are staying in there in Mali. When are the last French troops going to leave?
I think I'm going to give you a very clear answer, is we'll stay as long as necessary and we'll leave as quickly as possible, which means that we will have a very pragmatic view of our presence.
Human rights campaigners say that they welcome this resolution. They do have some concerns. They have concerns about the Mali army. They also have concerns about some of the other African peacekeepers, particularly those from Chad, where it's a country that uses child soldiers. To get a view of the situation on the ground in Mali from the town of Gao, let's now listen to this report from my colleague Andrew Simmons.
This new peacekeeping mission is big and its challenges immense. So much has changed in this conflict, with the French, who invaded in January with a total of 4,500 troops at one point, withdrawing gradually down to around 1,000 troops by the end of the year. But there needs to be some clarification, it's felt in many quarters, as to what role France will play aside from the UN mission. They say that they will back it up, but it isn't clear exactly how that's going to be done, so it needs explanation, many feel, politically. As far as the UN is concerned, it isn't just the military factor, bringing in African troops, training them, keeping the resilience together. It's also politically engaging with the different tribal groupings and addressing the problem of the rebels and whether or not they return an attack. Now, the political side of it, we spoke to the UN head of mission, and he was travelling out to one of the cities affected by this conflict, and this is what he had to say.
We wanted to take advantage of that to speak to different groups, including the traditional leaders, as we just did, also civil society and others, so that we get a better understanding of the needs, of the expectations of all Malians, including here in Kidal, about this new mission that's about to start. So for us, it's very much a meeting of making initial contact, seeing how to move forward, particularly on political issues, dialogue issues, reconciliation issues.
Diplomatic words there, carefully chosen, because this situation is so sensitive and explosive militarily. There has to be so much energy put in to trying to get more unity amongst the various tribal groupings in Mali if there's any chance for this UN mission to succeed. One example is the way the French mission has changed. They were on the attack months ago. Now it's very different. They're moving into areas, having to detonate explosives they find. It's a stage-by-stage thing, using local intelligence. It's a massive challenge, whoever takes it on.
So to recap, a UN peacekeeping force, David, starting from the 1st of July, backed up by the muscle of the French. They'll do any fighting that's needed. How long will the French say? They're not saying.
Well, we thank you. James Bays there, our diplomatic editor, reporting from UN headquarters.